Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered and Functional. I am your host, Mandy, and today we're going to just be doing a little quickie solo episode, but about a topic that is really, really important and every woman needs to hear about low progesterone. I previously did try and do this episode before with Sasha, but for whatever reason, my computer decided we were not going to keep that episode and there was not going to be any visual. So here we are. I'm going to redo it real quick, solo style. Sash right now is on a plane somewhere on her way to Jersey for one of her client shows, wishing them all the best of luck. But let's dive into it, ladies. Low progesterone is honestly, I think, one of the biggest hormone epidemics that we face right now in America. It is insanity. It's literally not even when you really think about it, it's not truly a hormone problem. It comes back to being a lifestyle problem, a stress problem, a nervous system problem. It's like our American boss babe hustle culture. It's a culture problem. That's what it is. This is like our modern day culture, lifestyle, stress, and nervous system problem. I want to give you guys a little bit of background about what is progesterone actually, why the heck does it matter, and why are so many women right now struggling with low levels, and like what can we do to support it? This is probably one of the biggest things I see in the majority of the lab work that I run with women. It's actually like I'm not even surprised anymore, truly, which is a little sad. But let's start at the beginning here. What is progesterone? Well, keeping it super simple, it is a sex hormone. I'm not calling it a female sex hormone because men do have it as well, but it is very necessary for women to help balance out estrogen. And I know we've all heard of estrogen. I know we have. Progesterone often kind of gets put in the shadow of estrogen, but it is super, super important for our healthy living. Progesterone gets produced by our bodies after we have a meaningful ovulation. So basically, an ovulation that matures and fully happens and occurs. And when the egg leaves the ovary, it kind of has this little structure left behind called the corpus luteum. Not a cute name, but what can we do about that? But this corpus luteum, or like, I guess the little like former home base of the egg that we just ovulated, that is what prompts progesterone to be created by our bodies. But we have to ovulate in order to have solid progesterone. Progesterone also is important for those of you who are looking to start a family one day or maybe continue a family. Progesterone helps prepare your body for pregnancy. Specifically, what it does is once that egg is fertilized, and it implants into the side of the uterine tissue. Progesterone is what maintains that pregnancy and keeps it healthy. So, unfortunately, what we've heard more and more about is women that are getting pregnant and will miscarry because progesterone levels are not adequate to support a pregnancy, unfortunately. I think our OBGYNs are getting a little bit better about testing hormones beforehand where they can and kind of realizing if you are actively trying to get pregnant, some women can preemptively kind of go on progesterone, like exogenous progesterone support to help, with a more successful pregnancy. Because even if you don't want to get pregnant, progesterone is still important for more than just fertility. You may have heard it being referred to as the calming hormone. I don't know why that irritates me. I feel like it's not 100% an accurate like name for progesterone, but I think it gets called the calming hormone because it is very much so supportive of like good healthy sleep, mood stability, and like it can help reduce anxiety. I think the reason I pause in calling it the calming hormone is because it can make us feel like a little bit more sleepy, which is why in luteal phase, when we would be having that progesterone spike in our cycles, many of us feel a little bit more tired. So for me, I mean, if I was going to personally be little besties, I would be calling it the like sleepy time hormone. But other really good functions of progesterone are that it supports healthy thyroid, which is what we love because that's a healthy metabolism, ladies. Healthy breast tissue as well, because We not going to take a deep dive into it now, but if we have an excess of estrogen popping off, sometimes that can be more so associated with breast cancers, and having adequate progesterone levels helps balance out the estrogen that we make in our body. That is a very, very rough Cliff Notes version of that. We're not going to go deep into that, but if you guys are interested in hearing an episode maybe about breast cancer sometime, drop it in the comments and we can revisit that. So that's what it looks like when we've got adequate progesterone. When we don't have adequate progesterone, though, so this is what we're seeing like a lot more prevalently now in women. And unfortunately, I think we're sort of being like, oh yeah, it's perimenopause. But I think that word gets thrown around way more often than like it has merit for. And really, it's just coming back down to this progesterone problem in the first place. Because in perimenopause, yes, we will see some progesterone dropping. But what I'm talking about here is low progesterone as an epidemic, period. Like we're seeing this not just in women in their 30s and 40s, we're seeing this in young women in their 20s, early 20s, even some as teenagers. So this is really where I want to focus on there. But when we do have low progesterone, this is when we see issues with sleeping, higher anxiety, irritability, mood swings, pretty much like anything that you can associate with PMS before like a rough period, including like, more severe cramping, breast tenderness, backaches. This is from low progesterone. That's the culprit. That's what's going on here. Unfortunately, I think it's been really, really normalized in our culture due to like media, and like we'll see it on TV shows where a woman's like, oh, it's just that time of the month and let's grab a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Like, Lord knows I fell for that too when I was in my teenage years. I was like, oh, this is normal. Okay, well, now I have a free for all to like eat all the chocolates, which I did. Thank you very much. Helped myself right to that because society was telling me this is fine. Ladies, it's not fine. It is not fine. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal or healthy. Why are so many women actually struggling now with low progesterone? Like I said before, it's not really so much at the root a hormone issue as it really is a stress one. That's the super simple and superficial answer, is that it's stress. I do really want to differentiate here with this because when most people hear the word stress, they think about like, like a heavy workload or a super packed schedule or some big life events happening. And it doesn't always have to be that is the case. The real important thing to understand here about our bodies as women is like our bodies will not differentiate between physical stress, emotional stress, work stress, relationship stress, financial stress. Inflammation is a stressor on the body. So is under eating, overtraining. So if you're working out 6 days a week, the body sees that as stress. If you're not getting enough sleep, that is stressful to the body. And then from the more psychological standpoint, if we are people pleasing or we have unresolved trauma or issues, that also compounds to stress. Stress is stress, and it will impact our ability to produce adequate progesterone levels. If we think about like modern women now, we're literally out here. We are building careers. We are raising families. We are maintaining relationships and really close friendships. We're trying to stay healthy. We're trying to stay fit and look good and get in shape and be productive and be successful. And oh my God, there are so many expectations from society. And I think it is super easy for all of us to subconsciously absorb that as our personal mission. Like another psychological aspect here that, the more women that I talk to, this definitely plays a part is we've learned from a young age to tie our worth to what we can do for other people, which really feeds into the fawn response or like people pleasing, if you've ever heard of that before. So, if there's some like tension between maybe you and a partner or you and a friend, you know, I think a lot of times what we learned in childhood was for our default setting to just like be agreeable, don't argue, be nice, put their needs first, keep the peace, don't make anyone uncomfortable, even if you're uncomfortable, which drives me crazy because like it's like duh, yeah, of course, but when we're young, it's not a duh. Yeah, it's just, oh, we want to make friends or we want to keep our parents happy. But what happens inevitably is that our needs get put on the back burner, and that creates a feeling of not safe. Like we are not safe in our body. And that's how we develop those patterns like people pleasing and fawning. And if you're not familiar with the term like fawning or fawn response, like what I'm talking about here, is that is a stress response where we try and stay safe by making everyone around us happy. So this is kind of like a little bit of a gruesome example, but like if you think about those like murder mystery shows and let's say some creepy guy, because it's always a creepy guy, let's be real. It's always a creepy guy. Some creepy guy takes a woman, because it always is a woman, at gunpoint. And in order to like make him happy, she's like, no, 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 just let me go. Like, I swear I'll do what you tell me. Like, that is fawning. It is a stress response trying to appease whatever the threat is to you. It's up there with that fight or flight response as well. So even though it has a very different physical manifestation when we like act on it than say fight or, running away, it is still in that fight or flight response umbrella. The problem with this fawning response is what it taught us is that we need to be hyper aware of other people's emotions and that disconnected us from our own needs. So while it may have helped and served a purpose in childhood, like while we were learning and growing and trying to like feel safe, when we take it with us into adulthood, it is motherfucking exhausting. It is so exhausting. And I know we've all heard the term before, like the body keeping the score. It really does. Eventually, our nervous system is fed up and our hormones are going to be like, you know what, girl? Mm-mm, we're not doing this anymore. That's kind of where that boss bitch culture comes into play. And I don't want anyone to come for me. Before we go there, let me just say, I am all for women being super successful. I own a business. I love ambitious women. I was and am one. I still identify as one, but it does get exhausting. Eventually, we get pushed into that type A so much that our bodies pay a price. And believe me, I was there. I was also the person that identified as like having coffee as my blood type. And I would only sleep like 4 or 5 hours because I was always picking up more call shifts and working like 16-hour days. And I just thought that's what I had to do because anytime I talked about my career at that point in my life, that's what got praised is, oh, she's a nurse. That's amazing. Oh my God, thank you so much for what you do. So even though those words of praise were well meaning, I hadn't done enough work in myself to recognize that I was really just thriving off external validation and it wasn't making me feel safe. So it just kept kind of feeding the problem. And I know that many people can relate to that in like their own facets. But what we really need to learn now, or I guess unlearn, is that our worth isn't in pushing, pushing, pushing. Like we can still be strong and we can still be baddies and we can still take a nap and we can have healthy boundaries and we can ask for help when we need it. It is not a weakness to slow down and really take care of ourselves. And I think more and more women are starting to realize that. What it really comes down to, and why I'm talking about all these things, is that biologically speaking, the female body was never designed to operate in this fight or flight, freeze or fawn state constantly. And that is what modern life has made us kind of do. Progesterone thrives in our bodies when we feel safe, not when we're like, go, go, go. Ovulation thrives in our body when we feel safe. Ovulation will only occur when we feel safe and relaxed. It's just one of our primal survival mechanisms. If we don't feel safe, our body will not ovulate because our brain says, hey, it's not safe to bring a baby into this world right now. Truly do believe that this is partially where we're also seeing an influx of IVF in couples now. Okay, so I've talked a lot about, what the heck is going on with low progesterone and how it's manifesting. So, what can we do about it? Because I'm not going to just tell you, guys, this is the problem and not give solutions because that's not how we roll here. So, what we can do about it is protect our ovulation. That is the first and foremost thing. Remember, if we don't ovulate, we're not getting progesterone. So we need to ovulate regardless of whether or not we want to have it result in a pregnancy. So, what that means for us as women is we need to be eating enough food, especially protein. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but all of us millennials, we all know and love that we got to get our protein in. And more than that, we also need to be eating at regular intervals to support good blood sugar balance. Big ones are avoiding under eating, avoiding excessive cardio and overtraining. So, if you're one of those girly pops that's doing 6 days a week, like I was back in the day, pull it down. It seems so weird to pull down at first, but I promise you, your body is going to thrive working out 4 days a week versus 6. The other thing that we can do is support our stress at the nervous system level. When we hear self care, like we think, bubble baths and doing our nails and wearing a face mask and self care Sundays. That's cool. You can definitely keep doing that because, like, who doesn't love that? But we need to do like real nervous system work. And I think a lot of people feel really uncomfortable with that at first because that usually involves learning how to say no, especially if we've been people pleasing for a long time. We need to learn how to create boundaries so we're not constantly doing so many things for other people and not taking care of ourselves. And this is like the biggest one that I've shared like with some of my clients before. You have to learn that disappointing someone else is not a crisis. It is not life or death. So like a line that I've taught some of my clients is someone else's urgency is not my emergency. So like when you have that friend that comes to you and they're like, "Oh my God, I need help. I forgot this. And then like I was late for this. And can you please come and pick me up?" The fact that like, I don't know, Leslie, sorry, Leslie's out there, but that's the first name that came to my head. The fact that Leslie forgot her keys in her house, got locked out, couldn't get to work on time, and is calling you for an emergency ride, even though you've got like XYZ going on. We love you, Leslie, but like her urgency is not your emergency. Her fight or flight does not need to become your fight or flight. Okay, and I'm realizing I said friend, and obviously, like if we're friends and we have the ability to be there for them, like let's do it. So let's pretend Leslie is actually a work acquaintance. Leslie, respectfully, lovingly get your shit together. Of course, we'll show up for our friends, but like that's the example that popped in my brain. The other big one we need to do is, and it kind of goes with food, is support our nutrient status because that is where we make our quality hormones, including progesterone. And quality nutrient intake also supports ovulation. So, magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, healthy fats, fish oil, all these ladies, we got to be getting them in. And then the last one I have for you guys, creating more margin in your life. Not every single season needs to be a hustle season. We can have soft seasons too. Not every goal that you have needs to happen tomorrow. There's a lot of beauty in embracing the process of getting to a goal rather than just that destination mindset. Oftentimes, what I found with not just myself, but also my friends, my clients, the most healing thing a woman can do is usually taking shit off her plate, not adding more. I know we're so tempted to. We hear about a new supplement, we hear about a new like wearable like Apple Watch or Oura Ring or Fitbit, and we're like, yeah, let's add more data. Like sometimes we really do need a little bit less. So on that note, if you find that you are really resonating with a lot of this and you are struggling with some symptoms, the last little tidbit I can give you, ladies, is please test. Look at your labs. Do not guess just based off your symptoms. Like your symptoms do matter, but we also want to put some data behind them. See if you can track some patterns with your cycle. So if you're not, ooh, girls, ladies, if you are not tracking your cycle, start doing that ASAP. Every symptom, every pattern that we pick up, the lab markers, like our body is talking to us. So our goal is to try and understand what that message is so we can truly understand what the root cause is and we can address that. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you would be so sweet as apple pie, and please share this with a friend that you think might benefit from it. Give me 5 stars on Spotify or a thumbs up on YouTube, and I would be absolutely so grateful for that. And if you are someone that is struggling with symptoms that sound like low progesterone whether it's PMS, anxiety with no root cause that you can really discern, poor sleep, bad cycles, fertility concerns, etc., all of those things. This is part of what I do in my coaching container. So if you're interested, please reach out. I'll link my Insta below, which has my link tree if you're interested in coaching. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.